Oh boy, what a weekend we just had. Blockbuster college football Saturday. We got everything you could possibly have wanted out of that. We had field stormings, we had upsets, we had comebacks, and we had two blockbuster matchups to end the day. And we're going to start with one of those games. We're going to talk about the whiteout, Oregon at Penn State. What a game this was. Penn State came out playing great defense, finding ways to get Oregon off the field, even though Oregon was moving the football. They moved the football a lot in the first half, but they still only came away with 3 points. But eventually, those two fourth down stops that Penn State got were a major factor in that. Eventually, though, Oregon found the end zone in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, the fans in the stadium started to get a little restless. They started chanting some things about James Franklin. And then Penn State, they find a way back in this game. They start finally taking those downfield shots, and they succeed on those downfield shots to score that touchdown. And then they get that last score to tie the game and get this game to overtime. And what an overtime it was, capped off by the interception to walk it off at the end of the game for Oregon. And man, what a game. The thing that I think for Oregon you're really impressed with coming out of this game is the poise of Dante Moore. He totally controlled this game. He was comfortable in the pocket the whole way, and he was able to make plays with his legs, able to do whatever Oregon needed to do to move the ball. 248 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, standout performance for Dante Moore. I think this really shows what this Oregon team can be. I expect their offense to play better in games. But I think that's a credit to Penn State's defense that they were able to hold them to only 17 points. I know they had that controversial overturn of a fumble that could have kept Penn State in this game a little bit longer. But what a game. I think Oregon should be really pleased with the performance of their quarterback, pleased with the performance of this defense. And they had the right game plan, that they attacked Penn State defensively the correct way. And I think, for me, that's the biggest concern I have, again, coming out of this game for Penn State, is I just don't understand this game plan. I don't know what they were trying to do. The question has always been, can they throw the ball downfield? And the one time they tried it, it was successful. But they never went back to it. They only brought it out down 14 points in the fourth quarter, and they hit, and they never brought it out again. And I understand, in overtime, maybe you can't pull that out because you don't have the space. But I don't understand what they were doing, why they didn't try that sooner. And something is just wrong with the way they are attempting to win these games, the way they are game planning for these games, and they have got to get it figured out. They've got a month. At the end of this, they'll get through October, and then at the end of October, you've got that game against Ohio State in Columbus, and then you follow it up the following week with the game against Indiana. Those are going to be big games, and Penn State needs to be ready. They need to have a much better game plan, and I think they are capable, if they really want to, of throwing the ball downfield. I don't know why they refuse to do it, and something is not right with the way they are approaching these big games. He's now 4-21 against AP top 10 teams, and something's got to change if they want to be able to win these games. But what a game, what a performance from Oregon. I think that bodes really well for the rest of their season. Their schedule for Oregon really opens up the rest of the way here. They're going to have a couple of tough games to end the year against USC and Washington, but really they're not going to get challenged until late November. And I think this is a team that now has set themselves up really well to end up in Indianapolis again for the second straight season. 2 years into Big Ten play, and I think they might have 2 championship game appearances under their belt at the end of the season. Let's head down south to talk about Alabama going on the road against this Georgia team. And in the first half, this Alabama team did whatever the heck they wanted on offense. 13 of 19 on third down. That is the key stat in this game. You just don't win games when you don't get off the field on third down. And you can see that in that stat. And then what that leads to is the big advantage they had in number of plays. They ran 77 plays on offense to Georgia's 52. They possessed the ball throughout this game, and they just limited the amount of times Georgia is going to get the football. They limited the amount of opportunities that Georgia had throughout this game, and I think that's a really big reason why they were able to finish this game. Even when they didn't score in the fourth quarter, they possessed the ball. They had 5-minute drives that ended in punts or missed field goals, and they just took the life out of this Georgia offense by not giving them opportunities. They didn't run the ball super effectively, but they did it enough, and they had that screen game outside with their wide receivers that is an extension of their running game. Now, Georgia has this too. Georgia tried this too. The problem is Alabama has receivers and they have an offense that they know can push the ball downfield. Georgia has struggled to do that, and they struggled to do that in this game too. Georgia, they had the one busted coverage touchdown on a deep throw in the first half, and then there was another one in the second half that was dropped, and then they didn't really try to push the ball downfield. Outside of that, they had one kind of explosive play on 3rd and 11 on their last drive in the fourth quarter. But I mean, you can just see the way that this Georgia offense approaches the game, that they don't trust their downfield passing game. I think they had a swing pass on 3rd and 9 as their last offensive play that was blown up, and it's blown up because the Alabama defense, one, they had a really aggressive game plan, and they can do that because they know that Georgia cannot push the ball downfield consistently, and they were right. They had a couple of busted plays, but it never threatened them with any consistency. So Alabama was able to play aggressive. Now they gave up some explosive plays in the running game, and they struggled to defend the run at times, but they were still able to play in the backfield enough to force Georgia off schedule often enough, and then they were able to get off the field on third down. 2 of 8 on third down was Georgia. What a bounce back that Alabama's had from their opening game. I mean, they found a lot of rhythm on offense, and their defense has stepped up. And the defense is never going to be the strength of this team under Kalen DeBoer. That's not the style of program that Kalen DeBoer runs. They're going to score. They're going to be explosive on offense, and they're going to do enough. That is always the goal of a Kalen DeBoer team: is do enough on defense, do enough on give your offense enough opportunities, and that's what they did in this game. They possessed the ball really well. I think the thing that is concerning for Georgia defensively is this is the second game in a row that they gave up a lot of points in the first half. Now, their defense has consistently adjusted in the second half and started to slow the opposing offenses down, and they pitched a shutout in the second half. But the 24 points that Alabama was able to put up and the struggles that Georgia had getting them off the field, even when they did get them off the field, allowed Alabama to sit on this 24-point lead that they were, not lead, but 24 points that they put up in the first half. And, there are always questions about, there have been questions for a while about what this Georgia offense is capable of. And, there are always questions about Mike Bobo as the coordinator after games like this. But, something with this Georgia offense is just not able to be consistent enough in the passing game to really threaten teams. And, I mean, they ran the hell out of the ball. But if you can't, this offense is just not complementary enough to win games like this against teams that have a defense that is capable of stopping some aspect of their offense. And that's what happened in this game. Huge credit to Alabama. They'll have another big game this upcoming week against Vanderbilt. So we'll see how that plays out for them. We're going to stick to the SEC, another top 15 matchup in the conference, and that was LSU at Ole Miss. And I think we got pretty much what we expected in this game. Ole Miss really dominated this game. They had a 484 to 256 yard edge in this game. The difference is 2 turnovers for one and a whole heck of a lot of penalties. You can't have that many penalties and expect it to win games like this. The thing is, LSU's defense, I think, has been overrated. They haven't really faced an offense of Ole Miss's caliber, and I think you saw that today or on Saturday. And the other thing is LSU continues to not be able to run the football. And they played one of the worst rushing defenses in the SEC this week, and they still couldn't run the ball. And I know they have, I know they do things in the screen game as well to try to, as an extension of their running game, but you just have to be more complimentary on offense, and eventually it caught up to them today, it caught up to them this week, and it's going to continue to catch up to them. They have got to find a way to run the football. They've got to find a way to just do more on offense. You can't rely on Garrett Nussmeier. He had an okay day. I think he is not the caliber of quarterback that you can rely on solely. Like he cannot be an entire offense. He cannot carry an offense, and the defense also isn't good enough to carry the entire team. With no offensive help, this team is they don't play complementary football, and that's going to be a real problem for this LSU team moving forward. I think if you're Ole Miss, you're happy that you're able to walk away with a victory given how sloppily you played, but you've got to clean up the turnovers and you've got to clean up the penalty situation. But Trinidad Chambliss, one hell of a player, and man, that offense, when it's right, can really click. And I look forward to see what Ole Miss can do moving forward. I think I would like to see Trinidad Chambliss as the starter moving forward, even if Austin Simmons can return from injury. I think he's just a better player. I think his offense runs so much more smoothly with Trinidad Chambliss at the helm. But big win for Ole Miss. This really sets them up well to have a potential shot at a playoff appearance, to challenge for an SEC title. This is a really big win, a win they needed, and a win that they weren't able to get done last year. So, huge win for Ole Miss. We'll see how they are able to play moving forward. Now let's shift to the Big Ten, the big noon matchup last weekend, and let's talk about Illinois against USC. Now Illinois did everything they needed to do to win this game. A huge credit to their culture and just fighting back from what was a pretty atrocious week against Indiana. That's a culture victory, really, for Illinois. They don't do anything offensively. They don't have anything defensively either that scares you, but they just found a way to win this game. And I think if you look at USC in this game, you like what you saw out of Jaden Maya, but you really like what you saw out of Makai Lemon. That duo is elite. They fought back in this game. What a play to take the lead towards the end of the game. But they don't have anything on defense. They have no answers for anything. And when they gave Illinois the ball back with a chance to take the lead at 32-31, you just knew what was going to happen. You knew exactly how that was going to play out, and it did. So it's always a question with the Lincoln Riley team of, can they play enough defense to find ways to win games? And they couldn't do it this weekend. I think they're going to continue to struggle to do that. They've got a couple of big games coming up here soon with Michigan and Notre Dame. looking like another potential 9-3, 8-4 style season for USC. I think that's not the standard. They're going to have to figure out how to play defense. I don't know how many times we have begged for Lincoln Riley to start playing defense. They have an offense this year that they didn't have last year, and they just continue to piss it away with poor defensive play. And I think that's a problem. It's got to change. Something has to change there. Let's talk about another team that has struggled defensively, and that's Texas A&M. They had a big game against Auburn this weekend, and their defense finally showed up. That or Auburn's offense is just complete garbage. View that game how you will. I don't care how you want to view it, but Auburn kind of had their way defensively with A&M. I mean, holding them to 16 points, they really showed up defensively in this game, but you walk away, you give up another 5 sacks against Jackson Arnold, and Jackson Arnold in the running game had 6 more rushes and didn't get a whole lot of yardage out of that. I think that's been their key to success, is getting Jackson Arnold in the running game, and two games into SEC play, and they haven't been able to do that. And I think that's going to continue the rest of SEC play. They're going to have to find ways, 1, to protect their quarterback, and 2, to move the ball without having to use his legs. Can they find a way to get the ball to their receivers? They have some good receivers out there. How do they get the ball to them, and how do they find ways to move this offense along? A&M is not a very good defensive team, and they held them to 10 points. And so I think that's a real concern for Auburn. I think if they're not able to find a way to get this offense clicking, they are going to have a really, really tough time winning games in the SEC. But for A&M, you love to see a game where your biggest threat, your biggest advantage in the game doesn't show up. Their offense did not really show up very well in this game, yet they found a way to win. These are the kinds of games you have to find ways to get out of, and they did. So congrats to Texas A&M on finding a way to win a game where their offense did not show up. Let's move to the Friday night matchups. I want to talk about 2 Friday night matchups here. First, we're going to talk about TCU at Arizona State. This is another game that was really, really close, but didn't feel like it at times, right? Arizona State dominated this game in terms of yardage. They had 500 yards to TCU's 271. They really got after Josh Hoover. They were finally able to get pressure on the quarterback without having to send extra blitzers. I mean, they got big sacks here late in the fourth quarter to keep TCU from taking a lead late in this game. I mean, 3 sacks by Prince Dorva. What a performance from this Arizona State defense. I know they started the game slow, allowing TCU to get off to that 17-0 start. But after that, they really locked down this TCU offense. They were not able to find answers. And Jordan Dyson had another fantastic game catching the ball for Arizona State. I think if they can consistently get pressure without having to send a ton of blitzers, that will be key for this Arizona State team moving forward. That's what bit them in the Mississippi State game. They weren't able to get after the passer without those extra blitzers. And really big win for Arizona State. I think that's 2 wins now in the Big 12, setting them up for a potential return to the Big 12 championship game. Congrats to Arizona State on that victory. And then there's the Florida State game. I think that was the game everyone was talking about after Friday night. I mean, what a scene of them just storming the field at the end of the game. What a win for Virginia. I think this is another team. The ACC, there's an opening, right? Especially if Florida State and Clemson are not as good as they were expected to be this season. That really leaves the field open, and I think Virginia is a team that could take advantage of that. Obviously, they took advantage of Florida State this past weekend. And I think the biggest thing here is they did it behind an offensive line that is the most experienced in college football, and their offensive line dominated throughout this game. They ran the hell out of the football, and Florida State could not find a way to stop that running game. Virginia didn't play their best football. I mean, Chandler Morris threw 3 interceptions, and yet Virginia was able to walk out of this game with a victory. I think that sets Virginia up very well for the rest of this season. Really like what I saw out of that team, and they fought, and they found a way to win a close game. I think that's something that in that NC State game they weren't able to do, and they did it in this game. So I mean, for Florida State, the thing that concerns you the most is obviously the defense. I mean, that should be obvious, but also, and Castellanos fought really hard in this game. Deuce Robinson had a really big game for them catching the football. They really struggled to find that second guy, though. Squirrel White had a particularly poor game, I thought, and they need somebody else on that offense to step up. It can't just be the Castellanos and Deuce Robinson show. Somebody else on that team is going to have to step up offensively. They're going to have to find other receivers, because if you just have one guy, if you shut down that one guy, and they weren't able to do that consistently tonight. I mean, Deuce Robinson had plenty of yards in that game, but somebody else has to step up. And the other thing is they're going to have to play better on the offensive line, because late in this game, Virginia had him in hell. He didn't have time to throw, and you saw that several times in overtime in the fourth quarter. He's just running back and just tossing the ball up because he's under so much fire. And, it worked to success at times, and then obviously the interception to end the game. The line of scrimmage at Florida State needs to be better, both sides of the football. If they want to have any success moving forward, that's going to be really big in this Miami game that's coming up this week. They need to play better on the line of scrimmage. But we'll see if they're able to do that moving forward. Also, briefly want to talk about this Notre Dame-Arkansas game. I got it wrong. Sue me. Notre Dame's defense finally showed up. Right, that's the key for them. Is if they can consistently get that performance out of their defense, Notre Dame can have a lot of success to end this season. On the other side of that, unfortunate news for Sam Pittman of his firing. We'll see how that lines up for Arkansas, who they will target moving forward. Probably going to be a tough season the rest of the way for this Arkansas team, but a big opportunity, a big job opening up, and I think it's probably the best job currently open. You could make a case for Virginia Tech if the money is there, and the investment is there, but we'll see who they're able to target in the coaching carousel moving forward. What a week of college football. Really glad to have gotten to break it down with you. Let me know what was your favorite game to watch this past weekend. Drop a like, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.